Oh, mate, we're living by the bones of our ass. The bones of our ass we are living by over here in London. Exactly right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah,
but
many nights survived on brown rice and eggs.
Sorry, people were doing more with their money?
Yeah.
Except surviving?
Lucky bastards.
Who were these people?
Who were they? Who were these geniuses?
Who are these geniuses?
Oh, my relationship with money. I have to say, it's kind of like having a fair weather friend. It's like that friend that's like, oh, like, you know, you always want to catch up with them. It's just like, oh, like, they drop you a DM, like, you know, we haven't seen each other for so long. Like, when are we going to hang out? Yeah, and then you try and get something in the diary and then it just never comes to fruition.
Well, welcome.
Thank you so much, Sage.
Welcome in many ways. Zoe. So, how do we know each other?
How do we know each other?
Oh,
it's been a couple of decades, hasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
How old are we? We're 37. Yeah.
We are, yes. 1987 babies. We are that old. But we
You're
know
1987. I'm 86. I'm even older than you are.
Are you?
Yeah, man.
Of course. Yes, that's right. You're like, what? 9 months older than me or something like that.
Yeah.
That's not a lot.
Yeah, it's a full-on baby between us.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, true. We know each other from Sydney.
Yes, we do.
We're Sydney kids.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful to have met you, actually, because, you know, you're one of my solid, like, you know, one of my besties that
Soul sister.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
But we weren't that close back in Sydney.
No, well, that's the thing. We kind of like revolved in certain circles that sort of like, you know, they met once in a while and, you know, we met each other through another mutual friend.
You'd already been living in London for a year. And so I thought you were cool enough to figure out that I should live close to where you live because I didn't want to live where the other Australians lived. I wanted to live far away.
Yeah, no Clapham.
No Clapham.
No Shepherd's Bush.
Oh, no. Gosh, that was not us. So I was like, where do you live? North London, Finsbury. I was like, that's great. Finsbury Park sounds grand.
Finny P.
And I basically just followed you around a little bit. I was so lucky with the people I lived with and the people I encountered in my first years of London when I was making pittance, like literal pittance, you know?
That's what's so important. It's like you can be broke and do nothing, but if you've got good company, then that's all that matters.
My gosh, like I was earning like 19,000
I can't believe
pounds.
that. I cannot believe that.
I cannot imagine it. And I guess at the time I didn't understand what 19,000 pounds was.
Well, that's it, right? Because you convert it to Australian dollars and you're just like, okay. And also it's media. So you're just like, well, you know, I'm in this area of business. So it's just like, you know, everyone wants a job in it. I'm lucky to have a job in it. So I'm going to take shit pay.
Yeah. And then I guess it's only until you get your first salary that you're like, oh, wait. So after I pay my rent, my contribution of the bills, my transport.
Ooh, the transport.
The transport. You know, like I don't have a lot.
No.
And then, so what? That's going to go on my food and my like, you know, social, trying to live my life.
Yeah. Your social had to be in your house. And that's why, really good housemates just make it so much worth it.
Oh my gosh. Like one Saturday night, I don't know if my paycheck had come in yet, but I was sitting on the couch. It was a Saturday or Friday. And one of my housemates, like I didn't know him well at all, right? But I was just sitting there watching some TV and he was like, CJ, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm just watching TV. And he's like, you're not going to stay here all night, are you? And I said, oh, well, actually, yes. I'm kind of poor right now, so I'm just going to park my butt right here. And he said, no, absolutely not. And he literally would not let me keep sitting there. And I was like, look, I actually can't even afford to pay you back. Like it's just, I'm already kind of massively in debt from like having to borrow money from my parents to pay for the deposit. And
it's the anxiety of owing another person cash.
Oh, I couldn't live it like that. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sit here with my, I don't know, capsicum and hummus dinner. It was probably something nonsense, but I was like, I'm super content here, dude. Don't worry about me. Like this is exactly how I envisioned my London life, of course. But he dragged me out and wouldn't let me pay for drinks. And every time it was like my round with his friends, he was like, just took it. And he, like, to this day, like never asked me for it. And that wasn't the only time he did it. So nice. And he wasn't the only one. So Andy, thank you.
Shout out to Andy.
Shout out to Andy. But also like just people, when they knew you didn't have money, like they were just like, it's all right. I'll get you a couple of rounds. It's all right. Like, and you do realize that this is the very positive side of money. You see people like pay it forward because probably they've been in that situation.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, I know you and I have that relationship and I always used to love, we're like, I'll get this one. I'll get that one. Like, I don't know which one of us owes the other one more money.
Very good point.
I love that. I love that we never, and maybe that's why we stayed together.
Yeah. We don't watch the sense between us.
No, because it balances out somehow. Yeah. And I love that, you know?
Me too.
So it gets you through.
It does.
Oh, mate. Yeah. So, I mean, what did your friend used to say? Like, how were we living in London?
God.
I love this.
Chanel. Yeah, similar situation to what I guess we were in, earning shit wage and whatever over here. But she used to always tell me, she's like, "Oh mate, we're living by the bones of our ass. The bones of our ass we are living by over here in London." It's just, it's paycheck to paycheck, but it's worse than that. It's like paycheck into our into our overdraft, and it's just like, and then trying to pay off that overdraft with any bonus you get or any kind of like money that you come into, I don't know, through some sort of luck or I don't know, a present or a gift or whatever. It's just like, okay, that's just a little band-aid solution to get you out of that temporary debt that you found yourself in. But it's not temporary, it's constant.
It's constant because actually you're lulled into a false sense of security with this overdraft, right?
Yeah.
And it's always that, like, look, you're in London, you're in one of the best cities in the whole entire world, you're young. Like, London is the place to be in your 20s if you're, have free of dependence and mortgages and you just really want to enjoy yourself, travel around Europe.
Especially with all these other expats, because we all have that mindset. We're just like, we're here for a good time, not a long time.
Exactly.
It worked out differently for the both of us.
Yeah,
but we always
true.
There's an end game. There's like sort of like an expiry date on this. So of course I'm just going to get myself into ridiculous amounts of debt.
Yeah,
and not give a shit.
And you always think like it's okay because like I'll get paid and like I'll be a bit more frugal next month, but that like actually never happens. Like unless you're maybe like working in the law or even then, because I feel like you live within your bracket, right? I mean, we were definitely living above our bracket because our bracket was almost the poverty line, right? With occasional handouts from like our parents feeling sorry for us or it was terrible, but it was very humbling, I feel.
Oh, yeah. That's word for it.
It was humbling. Like, there was at least one day where I could not afford to go to work. I had to call in sick and like normally you'd be like, oh, that's cool. But I actually felt so rotten. I was like, how did I get myself in a position where I couldn't even afford the train travel to my job?
But it's like, companies should pay for travel. That's all there is to it. They should pay for travel and for lunch.
Yeah, true. It's such a good point. And, I felt so rubbish that day. And what I did is I just scoured my room for every penny and pound, walked to the Morrison's down in Holloway. And I think they had like a coin machine, so you could like, and I found whatever coins I had and I like passed it into the machine and I was like, okay, I was about like this. Okay, I can get myself to work. But it was just a day to remind myself.
Get myself to work. Wow.
Oh, I can get myself to work tomorrow. Go me.
That's impressive. Yeah.
Thank you. And, just having to shop in the yellow label section. I don't know if you had that.
Yeah, all the time. But yeah, I would never call in sick if I couldn't afford to go to work because I used to walk. Like 7K there and back. And to save that money, because I'm like, oh, it could be £1.50 on a bus, but that's both ways, and that's how many pounds a week, and that's how many pounds a month, and I'm just gonna walk to and from. But then it's just like, oh, but I needed to have good shoes, or I needed to have a backpack, and all that shit adds up. May as well get the bus or the tube or whatever. The tube is extortionate. It should not be that expensive. It's crazy.
No, it's definitely. I mean, the tube at least. It connects London really well, right? So even it's extortionate. But then getting outside of London to anywhere else, you're like,
don't even.
I barely saw the UK while I was here because I was like, why would I go to Manchester when I can go to Berlin or, Barcelona? Why? It makes no sense.
Oh, yeah. No, exactly right. Like one time I went to Cornwall and on the way back, I missed my train essentially and I couldn't afford to get the replacement ticket, but I needed to come back for work because I was coming back on a Sunday, missed my train, ended up getting like the first train out on a Monday at 5 a.m. And I pretended to be asleep the whole way and I could hear the ticket conductors come through asking people for their tickets. And I was just like, I'm just going to pretend to be asleep and then I won't have to.
It worked.
It worked. And I got off at Bristol and I thought I'm going to have to like do something at this point. Otherwise I can't come into London. I'm going to get fined. And so I just came out in the station and then I made up a story that I was staying at a friend's place. I'm from Australia. I've just got here. I've got a job interview in London. I've lost my ticket. I need to buy another one from Bristol to London. And they were like, yeah, no worries. So instead of having to pay from Cornwall to London, I paid just from Bristol.
I mean, I have to say, like, gold star for creativity and ingenuity and industriousness.
I got to work at 3 p.m., but at least I got there.
I mean, I've seen some pretty aggressive train ticket checker people.
Yeah.
Kind of a job. But yeah, so I feel like, the ones I've seen, I don't know, I feel like they'd poke you and be like, excuse me, ticket please, ticket please.
Shake, and
and you're like, I have sleep apnea, leave me alone. But
yeah, funny enough, no one disturbed me the entire way.
It was meant to be. Like somebody was like, just let that girl go.
Yeah,
like,
and then at Bristol, just had some waterworks. Had some tears and I've got a job interview in London. Like, I'm gonna
I'm
be
so
there
poor.
now. Yeah.
Okay, I
so
need this
poor.
job. I need this job for
God.
more reasons than you can even.
Yeah,
This fake
exactly.
job.
Ah,
Well done.
yeah.
I mean, for me, even the yellow label
Exactly.
section, I was like, oh gosh, I live here again, and the creativity you have with your meals.
Yeah, precisely.
But it's also because you're just trying to enjoy your life in London,
Yeah,
right? You want to
yeah.
prioritize going out with your friends, like getting to know people, seeing parts of London.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. It's all about prioritizing the sort of like social elements and thinking like what else I can kind of like you know, give up for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's always a little bit of your sanity, dignity, and quality of food,
Exactly right.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
But
many nights survived on brown rice and eggs.
oh yeah, definitely. Like even pot noodle. Like actually, I didn't do that too often because pot noodle is truly, if you're being realistic with yourself, it's trash.
It's bad for you.
It's not food.
Yeah, it's chemicals.
It's real chemicals. So like I'd always try and eat like whole foods, but it would be simple stuff.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like
But I love how you just said that, yeah, that it dictates the creativity of your dinner. Like you'll be in the
Yeah.
yellow label section and be like, oh, Pak Choi, I guess it's going to be like Asian tonight.
yeah. Also, this is on special tonight. Great. What do I have left in this fridge? What can I put together?
Yeah.
I think it does build you a bit. Like it
Yeah.
really changes you because I think, if you had been living, I know you moved out of home when you were in Sydney, so you didn't necessarily go straight from your parents' house to London. I did. But
Well, that's a rude shock.
it's a rude shock, but also I feel like I needed it.
Yeah.
I really feel like, and it was something that my dad said
Kick
to
up
me.
the arse. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit of like, I think I was still like quite independent and I think I was like, good with household chores, but really like moving
Oh, yeah.
to London.
What about your phone bill? Was that paid for you in Sydney?
Yes.
Yeah,
it
mine was too.
It was.
Yeah. So I remember that was one of the things that you don't think about. So that's an expense that you're just like, holy shit, 50 quid. Well, I'm paying like 50 quid now, but like probably back then I was paying, £20 moving to London or something, which isn't that much. But then that's something that you're thinking about your paycheck and you're thinking about all the things that are coming out and you're like, okay, well, I can survive until then. And then you're like, and then that comes out and you're like, oh shit.
I had it bounce
Yellow
back a
labels.
couple of times.
Did you?
Yeah, like if I didn't have the money in my bank
Oh,
account, it would
no.
bounce. But like, they always give you kind of like a leeway to pay it. But it's a very normal Sydney thing, especially if you keep living at home.
100% it is.
right? It's like
Absolutely.
you have
like a family plan or something.
a family plan, like,
Yeah.
you have a number that you've had since you were, God, I don't know, a teenager or
Precisely.
whatever. And then it just keeps getting paid for. And then even things like, I don't know, my gym membership, because it wasn't a very expensive gym, that was on my parents were paying for that.
Mhm.
So all these little things, you're like,
Yeah, because they want their kid to be healthy as well. So it's like, of course, there's a gym membership. Of course, we're going to pay for that. That's something
Yeah.
that we want for you, and and the phone is a way we can contact you, so we can make sure that you're
Exactly.
okay. So
and they weren't, it's not like they're huge expenses, right? But when then you have to adopt that yourself, and then with everything else you've got going on, paying your own bills, water, electricity, internet, you're like, oh my gosh,
yeah.
I'm actually left with not very much in my
know.
pocket. And I think that if you already weren't very financially illiterate, which is definitely my problem.
Yep.
I had a concept of like money goes into your bank account. If you do have something left, or if you can do it, you put
It's a
something
shopping
to
day.
was shopping day. If you can, you put some into a savings account,
Yeah.
but more likely than not, you're going to pull it out of the savings account
yeah.
within a few days.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that's it.
Yeah.
Like outside of that, there was more. Sorry,
I
people
know.
were doing more with their money.
Yeah.
Except surviving.
Oh, lucky bastards.
Who were these people?
Who were they? Who
Who
are
were
these
these-
geniuses?
Who are these geniuses? And perhaps I surrounded myself with people like you
Yeah.
and me who were like, yeah, it was being poor sucks, but it's kind of fun
yeah,
too,
it's
right?
kind of fun.
And we're here
Exactly. Birds of our
together.
ass. Cheers to that.
Yay.
Yeah.
What, like roadies, cheap beers,
yeah,
like
we didn't give a shit. It was fun.
it was really fun.
Yeah.
It was great. So what is your relationship with money?
Oh, my relationship with money. I have to say, it's kind of like having a fair weather friend. It's like that friend that's like, oh, like, you always want to catch up with them. It's just like, oh, like they drop you a DM, like, we haven't seen each other for so long. Like, when are we going to hang out? Yeah, and then you try and get something in the diary, and then it just never comes to fruition. It's one of those things. It's like one day I'll have savings, and I will feel comfortable. And it's kind of like, but then something always needs to happen as you get older. You've got these big ticket things that occur, like your wedding day, or like then you have a kid, or then you want to save up, well, even for a house. But it's just like when I came up to my wedding, I was in probably the most comfortable situation I had been in, and I thought, well, this is great. I'm actually saving all this money now.
Yeah.
I'm not living paycheck to paycheck. I'm kind of just like, I can see it all building. And then, but because I had that chunk of cash, and then we had our wedding, and I was just like, okay, well, it's only one day. Like, I shouldn't be spending that much money. But then it's that one day. Like, it's meant to be that special one day. So then you just throw money at it. So I felt, yeah, it's just like that sort of complicated relationship where it's like, okay, well, one day we will be together, but ultimately at the moment, it's not the case. We are not getting on.
You can see them and you see, hey.
Yeah.
And then they turn left and then they disappear and you're like,
exactly.
huh, I swear I saw them.
Yeah.
I swear they were here.
Yeah.
Nah.
I know. And I liked it. And now they left me again. And it's like, it sucks. Yeah.
You're always playing catch ups.
Yeah. Always playing catch ups. And it's really funny because like in Australia, we've got a superannuation, which is kind of like what our pension is.
Yeah.
And so that's like money that your employer like puts it away in their savings account. And then during COVID, they said, okay, well, if you have been affected, like your pay's been affected, then you can actually get it out. You can get up to 20 grand out. So what else would I do but to take it all out?
Did you?
Of course I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes. I was in my overdraft over
No.
here up to like 2 grand. So I thought, I'm just going to take my superannuation out. That will solve that problem. Did I pay off my student debt? No. I didn't do anything great with it. I just paid off my debt and then probably bought some nice shoes, something like that. Just like treat myself. Why not? It's my money. Is that mindset?
They made it so easy for people to do it.
I think it was like my mom. I think she was just like, I don't think you should take it all out. I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. Of course I want to take it all out. Like, what else is it doing there? I don't intend to move back to Australia. Idiot.
How much, can I ask, was?
I think I took out maybe 12 grand Australian.
Okay, so you actually, it wasn't as big as I.
No, it wasn't big. So, well, basically my mum convinced me not to take it all out.
Okay, I was going to say, because you worked in Australia a lot longer than I did and you had like jobs that definitely paid more. So
I mean, I had a job that paid the same amount of money then as it does kind of like now from my job here in London. It's crazy.
Australia does pay better.
I know.
It does.
Like I remember when I got that offer of a job and I was just like, are you joking? Like that's 10 grand more than what I'm on at my other job. Of course I'm going to take it. And then coming here, I was like, I get paid how much? They're offering me this?
You're like, feel like you're going backwards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought, oh, great, this is going to be my transition into London. And it was just, the pay was dismal. I mean, not as bad as 19K, but it was 23.
It's not that much more.
No. And then I was using like my mom's credit card because she was like, this is for emergencies. I'm like, well, even every week is an emergency.
Every day is an emergency.
Every day is an emergency. I need to survive. So I'm just using your credit card at like freaking Sainsbury's.
I mean, that's an emergency. You need to eat.
Yeah.
That is actually, it's not like you were putting that card through with like, I don't know, H&M or whatever. Like, you're like, that's a supermarket.
Yeah,
a supermarket is where you buy food
about it.
and other fun things, but like mostly food.
Mostly food.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's a good thing your mom had good advice not to take it all out. Because even if you never plan to move back to Australia, it is a pot of money that will accumulate. Like will, grow with interest. But even that little pot of money is really important to keep there because it will grow interest. And look, I get it. Like these are and I also feel, and no offense in any way, because I'm exactly the same.
No offense taken, Siege. You know me.
Yeah.
You know my relationship with money.
But like, I feel like if we were more financially literate, we wouldn't be tempted by things like that.
Oh, exactly right. You'd be like, oh my God, who would do that? And unless you're in a situation where it's just like,
destitute almost.
Precisely. Here's me like living in London, just like, oh, I'm in my overdraft. Oh, like I wish I was not, out of this debt. And it's like, okay, well maybe I'll take that out and then that will solve all my problems.
I just think that like this is such a problem. And like, look, we grew up in, middle class, I suppose, went to, nice schools, grew up in Sydney. Like there is no reason for us to be as financially illiterate as we are.
I know.
But it seems to be this real problem where I see like, okay, we were on the lower end of the pay scale, right? Media kids, But I know people who are, hitting close to 200,000 and they don't want to look at their bank account and they have no idea outside of a savings account, like what to do. They do the basic stuff, pension. Okay, yeah, if I put a little bit more, my employer will contribute a bit more. But outside of these things, they don't know what the hell they're doing with their money. And it makes you weird and uncomfortable. And like, if we just had a little bit more of this in school.
I know.
Don't you think, like, what is a fixed term deposit? What is it this? What is it that? Like,
an ISA? What the fuck is an ISA?
What's an ISA?
Yeah.
Like, why did I only learn about an ISA in my early 30s?
And then you have a kid, so then you're just like, oh my God, like, am I meant to do something for them now? Apparently you are.
Yeah. Junior ISA.
Yeah. I didn't even know what an overdraft was until my colleague came in at work and he's just like, oh, I just got an overdraft. And I was like, what is that? And he explained it. I was like, that sounds amazing.
You wish you had never had that conversation.
Precisely. Chris
that day.
Polton, how dare you? You've ruined me
Chris
financially.
Polton? Polton. Chris Polton.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah. Exactly. You've ruined me.
It's almost like being introduced to a drug because like you're like, oh, that sounds kind of fun. And like it gets me out of this like situation where I'm kind of having a bit of a hard time.
And I'm not punished too badly.
Yeah.
Like if I'm not so bad about it, they'll only charge me £12 a month.
Exactly. And that is like, what is that? Like a couple of beers. There is a real negligence with the banks. And obviously they do this on purpose because they can charge us interest.
Oh, precisely.
This is not just overdrafts. We're talking about credit cards. Like
loans.
The amount of times I was told, like I was barely paying interest on the credit card loans that I had, right? But they were like, you know what you need? More money. We will increase your limit. And I'm, obviously like, yeah, great. I won't use it. Of course, I always used it.
Yeah.
And then you just pay off the interest.
Yeah.
You're actually never paying off the debt, but the debt is accruing interest.
Yeah.
And so like, how do you get out?
Cycle.
And because like, also because we weren't earning a lot of money, like we could never get ourselves out of it. So then, and I remember, I'll never forget this. And I think this was 2017. We had just gone, we were about to go to that gig. Where is it?
The Roundhouse in Kentish
At Roundhouse in Kentish Town. That's the one. And had a conversation with one of your friends.
Yeah.
We won't name her, but she's, really fun, earned way more money than both of us, lived in a really nice apartment. You know who I'm talking about.
And
a
ballroom size bedroom.
Yeah. Baller bedroom, all these things. And I was already getting quite self-conscious about my overdraft and feeling like, I don't want to say a failure. I didn't feel like a failure, but I felt like this is not the way to live. Like I can't keep living like this. And it was actually a conversation with her while we were having drinks in that pub that made me go, okay, I need to figure this out because I'm turning 30 this year and I cannot.
What 30-year-old is living in their overdraft?
Yeah, because it's just, come on, that's not a way to start your life. Now I'm going to be closer to 40 than I am to 20.
Oh my God.
And I'm living in my overdraft. Like that's crazy. And, she was very happily saying, oh yeah, I live in my overdraft, like £2,000. And I'm not saying she was being, but it made me go like, oh my gosh, you're a bit older than me. You actually earn more money.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite concerning that like you're so casual about it.
And it wasn't just an overdraft. She had like credit card, like, kind of like loans or whatever else. Like she was in debt like quite a few different areas.
But we're so happy about it.
Like, so happy about it. And she's always wearing like the latest sort of trends. She's very much like a
amazing.
trend. Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
Because she worked in PR, right?
And also, she was very much like a very bougie sort of like sort of person.
Yeah, and it was that conversation that really triggered me. And I think at that stage I'd already started dating my now husband. And his relationship with money is so healthy and it's like has no weird emotional trauma attached to it, and he just is very good. He may not be someone who trades on the stock market or does any of that, but he is a very like, I know how to save. I know how to manage my money. I've never been in debt. I will never be in debt.
Teach us the way, Francisco, please.
Right? And it's like, but being with someone like him, and I'm sure the same with you and Sam as well, is like he got me on the right path because he looked at it like, he looked at my finances and he's like, this credit card that you've got, you're not paying it off. You're just paying off the interest. And we'd only started dating and I was like, So he actually paid off my credit card for me because if I had not paid it off by a certain time, the interest was going to go up.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't let that happen. So he paid it off. And I was like, okay, this is amazing. So actually every single month, I not only paid him back, I also then was saving myself. It was so hard. It was so tough, but it needed to happen. Right? Because I know like we went on holiday, remember, to Croatia.
Oh my God, see.
And I think I'd already started being better. I know that trip, I even considered canceling it because I was like, can I really do it?
We ate so many seafood platters. I pretended like money wasn't anything. And then now I'm just like having to get out of this debt now for the rest of the year, and think about what I can do next year that's not going to cost this much money.
I mean, I actually remember, I think you increased your overdraft
while we were there.
While we were in Croatia.
Girl, I did.
You called Barclays Bank and you were like, hey girl, I'm having such a good time at this festival. Hey, it's me again. Could you like increase my overdraft? Yeah. The drinks here are just like a bit exy, but it's so cool, expensive. Girl. You increased your overdraft.
Yeah, but that's how easy they make it. I don't even think I had to call them. I think it was just like on the app. I think
it was on the app.
Yeah. It's like, how many thousands of pounds would I like to increase it to? And I was like, okay, let's just make it nice even too.
So what, we were probably earning £2,000 per month, depending on where you are, right? In that bracket. But let's just say it's about 2,100. So excellent. You're £2,000 into your overdraft. Your salary gets paid.
Yeah.
And now you have £100.
Yeah. I know.
How does that work?
Exactly. And then I would still get excited about it because I could go to my bank account and be like, oh, look, it's not in minus anymore for a fucking day.
It's the psychology.
It is the psychology.
So I also think this comes down to temperament and like just how you are as a person. I think we are very much like half glass full kind of people. So like we'll see a bit of money and we're like, you know what? It's a great day. Let's go ahead and have a nice lunch. There's other people, they can't live like that. Like they just couldn't. They look and they see like thousands in their account and like, yeah, but that's not enough for a rainy day. We're like, we got 100 pounds.
100 pounds, how amazing. I'm out of my debt now. Excellent.
And it's just weird, right? But like because we're all so different, we end up in these situations and we're the perfect victims for banks.
You're so right.
Banks love us.
I mean, it's just, yeah. And I think at my old job, we would get a bonus if the company performed well. And I think they were performing well for a while. And I moved roles. And so my bonus was going to be substantially more because, you know, it was like kind of like a salesy role. But then it kind of like the company stopped performing so well. So then, but I was still expecting that bonus every month. And like my boss kind of said to me, she's like, you need to live like that bonus isn't happening.
Exactly.
Not that it will happen because you're just automatically thinking that is like that £1,000 that will get in my bank account as well. And it just wasn't the case.
Yeah, it's not consistent. So don't treat it as though it is.
Yeah.
I remember like at a company that I used to work at, my boss got made redundant, not because he was crap or anything, because he was actually brilliant. But one thing I do know is that he was poached to come take this role. And then within an X amount of time, you know, was made redundant, which was terrible. But he was given a huge pay rise. Right. So I was like, oh my gosh, how are you going to cope? Because, you know, I don't know how we got to this conversation. He's like, look, the best piece of advice I can ever give you, and the only reason I'm not freaking out is because I've always lived on my last salary. So even though I've been getting paid more, I've been banking that.
That's amazing.
So that's it, right? Like, and it takes so much discipline to
It really
do that.
does, because that's the thing. It's kind of like the more you earn, the more you spend. It's that mindset. And I know I would. 100%.
Me too. Because I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have to shop in the yellow label section. Like, oh my gosh, I can buy myself a new pair of shoes. Oh my gosh, I can like get my hair done at the nicer place.
Wear a different outfit for every single occasion that I'll have to go to this year.
And you feel like you deserve it because you work hard. You know, life is a bit tough. You're always on public transport, going from here to there, and like you just want to feel a little bit better. So it's kind of like a treat yourself, but you're not going crazy.
Exactly.
So it's really hard to
I think that is the mindset. I think it's always a little treat yourself little mindset, isn't it? It's like, well, I've got money, I'm going to treat myself with it.
And you deserve it.
Yeah.
But it's like once you're in that overdraft, it's so hard. So how did you get out of it?
I mean, super lame. It was COVID. I moved in with my now husband, and then I was paying about a third of what I had been paying at my Dalston flat. And so when I was living anywhere else, I couldn't afford those rent prices. But I didn't give a shit. I just, like we were talking about before, if I lived with the right people, that's all that mattered to me. And so I found a place with these 2 Kiwi guys and a girl from Lithuania. And this was really nice, you know, living environment.
Yeah.
And then my room was quite massive. The property itself was a shit show. It was gross. I mean, admittedly, I saw it when I was giving the household tour and I was like, I'm not going to take this. But then the more I got to know the guys during the tour, I was just like, this is what I'm paying money for. I'm paying to live with these people.
It's true.
And then I was just like, my overdraft, that's going to save me. That's fine. So I was living in it, you know, but was paying like £900 in rent and bills, etc. And then when I moved in with Sam and the Brixton flat, that was just, I was paying, like £300 a month. And so then that was my ticket to then start saving. And we couldn't do anything during COVID, could we? I mean, where am I going to sit and show off my new outfit? On Zoom? I don't think so. There's no point. I wore my pajamas every day. So it was like that it was like a shift where I was just like, okay, well, you know, it's just, I'm not going out, I'm not going to gigs, I'm not doing this. And, you know, it's just us living at home, I'm paying a third of what I was paying in rent. And so then that's just what helped me get out of it.
But saving money or being conservative or good with your money is kind of boring.
Yeah.
Right? Like spending it is exhilarating. You know, living in your overdraft, it's kind of like, ooh, look at me. You know, it's kind of
so
like
dangerous.
Yeah. And like misery loves company, right?
Oh,
so like,
so
you know, we
right.
can talk about our money woes and be like, oh man, it's so shit being poor. But like, good, go us. But actually being like smart, conservative, and like having a healthy relationship with money, it's not sexy.
Yeah, it's not sexy at all.
You know, it's not exciting.
It's embarrassing. Like
it is embarrassing, man.
One thing that happened actually that's like quite funny is I got scammed Well, someone called me, pretended to be Barclays Bank, asked me for some information, and then asked me for my the last funds in my account, how much I had in it, and I kind of said, like, minus £1,200 in my bank account. That was my last amount, and they were like, okay, bye.
The scammer ran away.
The scammer ran away.
You were
man.
so poor that the scammer didn't even want to talk to you anymore.
They were basically like, oh, we need to send you a new card because there's been some fraudulent activity in your account. I'm just like, oh, not again. It always happens where they're like, we need to send you a new card. I didn't think anything of it. New card didn't turn up for a few weeks. I thought, that's funny. Called up the bank and I said, I've received a phone call on this date. Where's my card? They're like, that wasn't us. Just so you know, people always text you. We will never call you. Please don't give you away your information ever again. But they didn't do a thing about it because I was like, £1,200 in debt, man.
That's so
I've got
funny.
Nothing.
Because
I've got nothing.
You know, they were like, oh my God, don't touch her with a barge pole. Actually, the scammer was like, should we send her something?
Yeah.
Like, should we?
Girl, I've got a job opening for you.
Do you want like a Tesco food voucher? Like there's a food bank around the corner.
I know, man.
Oh, being poor saved you.
Yeah,
See, it's not all bad.
Exactly.
It's not all bad.
But, mate, how embarrassing is that?
Oh, mate, that's good.
Yeah.
That is a good I didn't know that. There is a special place in hell for people who do this kind of stuff.
100%.
No, really. Like,
I know you hear about these like sort of like these people that fall into this massive debt, like they get hundreds and thousands of pounds taken out of their accounts. I mean, I don't even know what it feels like to have that much money, but to get that taken away from you because you just, I don't know, you trusted someone or you thought, oh shit, my finances are in troubles. This person's trying to help me from this bank. So I'm going to do everything they tell me to. And they make it all seem quite urgent. Like this needs to happen now.
And you feel it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my gosh, I can't be stranded in London without access to my, minus bank account. Yeah. Like that would be terrible. I need that overdraft, man. Like give me access to my overdraft.
I need to get to work tomorrow.
Oh my gosh. So I have a really sad story.
Here we go.
So it's not a personal story. So Francisco told me that when Portugal joined the European Union and then signed on to the euro, there was obviously a transition period. I think it was called the Escudeiro or something. Anyway, it began with an S, whatever their currency was at the time, right? So then there was a transition period where, banks were buying euros, buying the currency to then convert it into euros, right? So that they could do the transition. And, and this still happens where people don't trust the banking system. Digital stuff didn't exist. You didn't want to go to the bank and give them your money and then not know what was happening with it. So a lot of the older generation where they had these piles of money under their pillows, in different hiding places. So what happened is people, claiming to be from the bank were going up to the doors of these people and saying like, look, we can offer you, I'm from such and such bank, and say, we can offer you this interest rate and you'll get more bang for your buck if you give us your money. And like, if you're somebody, you're like, okay, yeah, that sounds easy. You look trustworthy. Your face is nice. And maybe you look like my son or my daughter or my, whatever. And they would give them their hard-earned life savings and never see these people again. And apparently this was just makes you sick, right? And this was like an ongoing thing that happened and people just lost their life savings. And thinking about that kind of stuff, and my sister used to work at Apple and she saw this happen a lot. Like people would come in and be like, oh my gosh, I got this phone call and they needed access to my account. So I, now my computer doesn't work. My money's gone. And my sister was like, I had to fight back the tears, knowing that this person has just lost everything and I have to do everything I can to help them and give them some hope that it will be okay. And maybe it will be okay, but it's just that initial thing that someone has been taken advantage of. And look, we're all in a tough position and we're all trying to make a bit of money, but there has to be another way than scamming other people.
I know, but like, how do they even learn these strategies?
I don't know. It's
scam school. Like they're just
scam school.
I mean, how do they do it? And like these people that went to the people's houses, they're actors. Like
they're actors, and they took that money being with a smile on their face because obviously they would have had to present themselves in a certain way, which is like, I'm trustworthy. I care about you. I want you to have more, and this is the way to do it. Ugh. Anyway, it's just
the devil. It's the devil.
It's the devil's work, Div. I know that we could not ever be so destitute that we would take money from someone. It's like you just I can't imagine that putting someone in a bad position to better my own self. Like it just doesn't make any sense. But what happens to you as a child, or what happens to you during your life that feels like an okay thing to do? And
maybe you're just born into it. Maybe it's like the mafia. Maybe it's just like, oh, I'm a scam artist because
I
was raised
people.
That way.
Yeah, I was raised that way. It's in my blood. Okay, well, speaking of which, what is your like earliest memory of money? Like, do you have one? When did you become conscious of it or like its presence?
See, like as a kid, I'd have to say, this is the thing, right? My dad always instilled in us, like, you need to work for money. We'll give you pocket money, but as soon as you can, you're working. And so I was working illegally. You know, I think the legal age in Australia is 14 years, 9 months or something.
It was, yeah.
So I was like 14 years, like on the dot and my dad like marched me into the shopping center, like this place, or this place, where are you going to work? And I thought, I don't know, maybe the deli.
Which shopping center?
The Parkway Plaza in Thornley.
He just took you there and he's like, pick one.
Yeah. He's like fruit shop, the deli, I don't know, like news agency, Franklin's. So I said, oh, the deli, then I can just like eat all their food all day, which is what it pretty much was.
Yeah.
You know, me and some other teenagers just working there. But it was just like, you know, I didn't really pay much attention to just like the currency of it. It was just like a social thing for me to do. I was just like hanging out with some people and I'd get a paycheck, but then I'd just spend it on like food, whatever else. And I think money for me always felt like a bit of like a special treat. You know, like my mum would take me shopping and then we'd come back and then she'd be in the driveway and with all our shopping bags in the car and she'd be like, oh, take these through the front door so dad doesn't see how much we bought.
Oh.
Yeah, but she'd be like, here, treat, like, and buy all these like new clothes, go shopping together. It's a fun shopping day. And then it's just like come back and then pretend like, oh, all I got was this really handy jacket that I needed.
Yeah.
Not all these dresses and blouses and things.
Put an extra 0 on the label so it, you know, makes sense on
Yeah.
the credit card statement.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a very good quality one. Like, you know, good fabrics. You know, you need a good coat in Sydney. It gets that cold.
Yeah, it gets that cold. But it's like one of those things where it's just almost like, oh, yeah, we don't have to talk about it. Or we can just like, you know, that was a fun thing to do, but let's just like pretend it never happened. That kind of mindset. And then like, I think I was thinking about it as well. And like, as a kid, I remember asking for money to go for a haircut. I was like, I'm going to go for a haircut. Can I have like $50? And then I spent it on a rave ticket. And then my friend cut my hair for me.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, Jenny, can you cut hair? And she's like, never done that before, but I'll give it a go. You know, and then I think my parents were like, oh, yeah, you went for your haircut yesterday. And it was
like
just
jagged.
Yeah, it was not nice. But, you know, they didn't really ask any questions about it.
If your hair was cut, your hair was cut.
Yeah. But it was just like, yeah, I think it was your priorities, like we were talking about before. Like mine was entertainment and just going out and then not really investing in like my appearance or like, you know, sort of my own, you know, kind of like beauty. I was just like, yeah, I preferred this than this.
Because you were, you know, you're young, you're beautiful anyway, right? So you're just kind of like, I want to enjoy myself.
Yeah.
So there's 2 interesting points from that. So do you feel like, because I have this myself and I'm trying to analyze it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like how your mom treated money as like it gives you kind of happiness and we'll keep it private? And do you think that had an effect on you?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Because it is that little mindset where it's just like, oh, like treat myself. And then, you know, I don't really have to talk about it. And like, you know, I've not really done that kind of thing for a long time. I think being with Sam, I'm not really the type to go and spend a bunch of cash on something and then like kind of like not really talk about it in front of him. Or like I'd always run the idea past him, like, oh, I need a new pair of sneakers. He's like, oh, here we go again. Like your solution is always to buy something. And I'm just like, well, it is to an extent, but at least I'm talking about it now. At least I'm not like thinking, I'm just going to go buy it and then see if he notices. And when he doesn't, then that's great.
I'm the same, to be honest. And it also, I think it's not even about, you know, the other person approving or not approving. It also is for you because you're like, okay, I've said it out loud. Do I really want it? Like I definitely spend way less. No, that's a lie. It's not that I spend less. I spend like the same on better quality stuff. So it lasts longer. So
mate, I'm a full advocate for that sort of thing. I think everything should be an investment piece in it. You know,
definitely
spend money on like a proper pair of shoes that you're going to wear every day.
And treat them well.
Yeah, treat them well rather than a crappy pair that it's just going to last like a second. But like, admittedly, I've done it lately where I bought a breast pump, as we were talking about before. And I went, oh, I'm going to get a cheap one because, you know, I'll save money that way.
You don't. And then you spend more anyway because you have to get a second one.
Precisely right.
So it's, oh man, breastfeeding is not cheap.
No.
I don't know whoever said, like, I know there's like the breastfeeding mats, which is like, oh, but I'm breastfeeding. So look, for some people who have this like endless supply and no latching issues, I'm sure that is actually great. Breastfeeding has not been cost effective. No. Okay. And we have to supplement with formula and all that. But look, you can never put a price on your baby. But this fallacy of like breastfeeding is free.
Because I think I even said that to Sam. I was just like, oh, this is, Because I think, you know, right at the beginning of it all, you just sort of discuss, you know, what's going to be worth it for us as a couple, for our baby, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, breastfeeding will cost because it's free. Woohoo. Nah.
No, because then you also have to eat well, right? So that's another
Yes.
thing. Like breastfeeding doesn't just happen.
Vitamins.
Vitamins to keep your supply up,
Yeah.
to make sure the milk supply comes in.
Mhm.
Like I don't know what the word for it is, galactogens or something. It's like those kind of foods that increase your breast milk supply. And you're just like chucking your money at it. Like,
Yeah.
no, look, I think it definitely helped and I can't put a price on it, but it's not something that you can just be like, oh, it's actually free though. It's free.
Yeah.
It's not free. The next bit I wanted to point out is I feel exactly the same way as you. Like, so we both started working before we were 49 months, right? So that was not because of my parents. I genuinely wanted to have my own money.
Impressive, yeah.
I think I worked at, my first job was in an orthodontist office, like doing cleaning, like it was a local one. So after school, it was just at the local train station near school. So I'd go like,
How did you find it when you were that
I think they had
age?
like I think they probably had something on the
sign in the
door,
window, yeah.
sign in the window, and I was like, okay, whatever. And I
Like,
think
Psst, you can be underage to work here.
They did not
We'll pay you like
check.
$7 an hour.
7, I think it was 5.
5.
Five, six,
Damn,
five,
girl.
$6. We have technically been earning our own money for a long time, over 20 years, right? So like, why haven't we got savings? My mom said this to
No.
me. She was like, you've been working since you were 14 years old. Like, how come you don't have savings? And I'm like, well, okay, in my defense, earning $5 an hour isn't going to get you very far in life. And like, it was just more, I wanted my own money. So I'd
Yeah.
spend money on stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Not what they were.
Things that your parents wouldn't really want to spend their own money on for you.
And that you didn't want to
Yeah.
ask.
Yeah.
Right? Like you were like,
Like
okay,
expensive magazines or just,
or justify.
makeup,
Exactly. Makeup.
Boost juice.
Boost
Boost
juice.
juice,
Boost
yeah.
juice.
Not
Ooh,
cheap.
Not cheap. Delicious, but not
Delicious.
cheap. And it's one of those things that you just don't want to keep asking your parents, right? Like
right?
my parents were
Yeah.
not wealthy people anyway, but like it's not like they would have denied me stuff, but that having to justify.
Exactly.
So like if we have been working, and you and I are very similar ages, if we've been working since we were 14 years old, why don't we have
I
any of that
know.
money?
It's
Whereas like
crazy when you put it that way.
when you put it that way, it makes no sense. And also, why did that not encourage our financial literacy to be a lot higher than it is?
Yeah.
Because actually, I know people who only started working, you know, during uni or whatever, and they are way better with their money. So, like, it's not about earning money or when you started earning money.
Precisely.
It has nothing to do with it.
Mhm.
That's crazy. Because,
Mhm.
like, why?
Even at one stage in London, like I think I was working 2 jobs. You know, I was doing my 9 to 5, and then I was working for my brother and his
You
business. Yeah.
were.
So I was doing 7-day weeks, and then, you know, I was getting cash in hand for the work I was doing on the weekends. But that cash just got spent like probably that night. Like we would go out, blow off some steam, and because I've worked so hard all week, I thought I deserve to go out. I'm going to spend this money.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Go home?
Right? We go home at 11, wake up the next morning, go back out again to work at Victoria Market. No, I'm just going to spend some money on some drinks and have, you know, with these fun people that I don't talk to any of them now. You know what I mean? Like, why would I invest my
Yeah.
money in those social outings when it's like I don't even, you know, sort of like see those people anymore? It's weird.
This is the thing. And that is such an important point to make. It's like, look, I don't regret us going out and spending all our money, because that, admittedly, that's a lot of how we ended up in debt, right? It's like
Yes.
prioritizing fun over responsibility, which is like, it is. When you're that young, you should do that, right?
Yeah.
To a certain extent. But when you really break it down, all those like late nights, long weekends that you were just talking nonsense, going out and like, you know, keeping the night or day going longer than it should have and spending a lot of money in the process. What did that all really equate to in the end?
I know. And then, yeah, I've just burnt through my brain cells, you know, drinking too much booze and spending too much money at pubs. And then it's just, I can hardly remember those times now.
No, that's because you're a mum. That's because you have
okay, we'll use that
you have brain
excuse.
fog. No, that's no. Okay, before maybe, but now it's purely just brain fog because your child took half your brain as they exited your body.
You really did.
You really did. Bums. What bums? No, that's really interesting. Again, like, need to figure out like what is it that differentiates other people from us, because like it's definitely not necessarily upbringing. It's definitely not work ethic. It's not because you're a hard worker or you're not a hard worker.
Precisely.
Because we are hard workers.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
You know, like that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It's like, it just comes down to like, we just don't know how to manage our money and our, like, how we see money.
Oh my God, it is.
We don't have a healthy
I
relationship
know,
with
I've
money.
got zero confidence with it, and I think that's a problem. But also, it's like, I'm too afraid to ask for fucking pay rises. And this comes down to this conversation that we had at Prime Site where my manager like knew that we all wanted one. We were all desperate for a pay rise.
And you deserved it.
Yeah, deserved it. And we'd all spoken about it amongst ourselves and said, what if we all quit tomorrow? What are they going to do about it? So let's all ask for a pay rise at the same time. And we did. And, you know, he kind of takes us into the room, a meeting room, and he's like, you know, it's such an embarrassing topic to talk about. You know, it's just like, oh, you know, this pay rise. I'm like, it shouldn't be at all. It should be like, let's have a really healthy, honest conversation about where we all are with it. Here's the route that you can take to get that pay rise. If you want a promotion, prove the work you've done or ask to be in a different role and then, you know, sort of apply yourself that way. None of that. We weren't taught how to get it. We weren't shown the way. It was just this is an embarrassing conversation. Like, you know, we'll let you know later if you're going to get that pay rise.
What was the outcome?
I think they offered us a promotion within the team. And they made us all go for it.
So it was like the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Battle Royale.
100%. And because I was just like, you know what? And because I think I'd been there the longest. And I was like, I'm not gonna go for it. Fuck that guy. And let's all not go for it. And what are they gonna do about it? And then this other colleague of mine, she went for it.
Of course, there's always the straggler. You can't trust everyone.
I know. I was like, we're all in it together.
We were in it together,
This is gonna be the revolution. And then look at you. You got the position.
You know what? She had the hindsight, or foresight, I should say, at that time, to be like, you know what? We're all in this together right now, but one day I ain't gonna know any of you guys. I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna like, you know, she was smart. She's a terrible person. Like, I don't trust her. I don't like her. I don't know her, but I don't like her. But she was smart.
Yeah, very smart. But I think it's such a weird mindset to have. Like, why do I even think that way? You know, and I think that's happened a few times where I'm like, oh, I won't go for that promotion because, you know, I don't want to be in that role, or I don't, you know, this isn't the industry for me. So I'm just like, I'm not going to go for it because it's going to be more work for the position that I don't really want. But it's like, no, Zoe, like you've been in the industry for how long? Fucking work the ladder to get to where you should be. And then you can still think about moving. But no, I'm just like, oh no, I'll just sit here and wait for what?
But I also think they make it so hard. And I think like, look, I hate bringing gender into this, but like it is actually true. Like we have been conditioned or it's something within ourselves that like we can't ask for more money. And if we do, we have to, because I think we're always made to feel grateful for our position.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like I remember even asking for £1,000. You know, on my annual salary, not my, you know, monthly, like an additional £1,000, which is what, £50 a month. And I thought I was going to hyperventilate. And when they said yes, I remember thinking to myself, what the hell? I could have asked for more. You should have. All right. Give me one word to describe money.
Oh, gosh. One word. You know, the first thing that comes to mind is like filthy, but it's just that's the thing.
Go with it. Go with it.
Should I?
Yes.
Is it filthy?
No,
maybe
of course.
Maybe it makes you feel weird. Makes you feel very weird. And I think it is that these moments that like snapshots in my mind like that. It keeps going back to me that, you know, our manager being like, oh, we can't talk about the pay rises. It's like, or like, you know, sort of like shuffling in, like hiding my shopping bags at home. It's like, this is bad. This is naughty stuff.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's like this dirty little secret, right?
Yeah.
But weirdly, it's everywhere and it conditions everything that we do. It controls everything that happens in this world. It starts good things. It starts bad things. It's like, but filthy is such a, personally for me, I don't, you know, not everyone sees it that way, but I relate to that word so much. It's a dirty little secret. It's what causes so many problems. It's like hidden, like, you know, no one asks each other about how much they earn because like it's impolite to ask that kind of thing. But actually, if we were all more transparent,
like we should be. I believe like it should be like on like company websites. It should be right up there for people to see because I want to know the route that I can take to get what that person's on.
100%. There should be like bands. Okay, so, you know, this is the job. You know, this is the bandwidth for what you can get. So people with more experience or another skill set on top of what you have can earn this much. But then this is the minimum. Exactly. Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 more questions. If you had all the money in the world, like money was not an option, like money was not a barrier, what is something that you would still never buy?
Oh my God, that is a good question. I know. I think funny like what my mind goes to when I think about this, but I went to Barker College back in Sydney, which is, you know, it's a posh private school, and I think one of the richest friends that I had there, she lived on a massive property out in, I can't even remember the name of it now, near Glenorchy, Dural, somewhere out there.
Oh, that kind of area. Okay.
Yeah, for me, I just thought, oh, it's the sticks. I prefer to be close to the city or something like that
Of
rather than
course.
out there. But she had acres and acres of land, this massive house and pool, and she had horses. And I'm like, horses are like for me like the symbol of the rich of the rich. And like, you know, growing up, you read these books and all the rich kids in the books, they have horses, or like, you know, that's like the pinnacle of success is I have a horse. Mate, never. I would never have a freaking horse. Keep your horse in stables. Not for me. Not for me.
I love that.
Horses scare me, but I'm not about that. I wouldn't even get one just to show off my cash and be like, no thanks.
You're like, just, I don't want to clean up your poop. Because actually,
Yeah.
all those equestrian kids,
Yeah.
they all had to like, and look, it's
Shovel
humbling
shit on
work.
weekends. Yeah.
But that's how they spend their weekends. They would go to these dirty stables,
Yeah.
but they had these horses, and like you owned, like it's like every kid's dream, probably
I
not yours
know.
by the sound of it,
I
to have
know.
a pony.
But like, why?
But the reality of a pony life is actually
Yeah.
really tough. And if they break their leg or something happens, they get shot. And like,
Ooh.
dude, I am so with you. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I
So-
think, yeah, actually, no, she does, like, she has to inseminate her female horses. So she's like having to like actually shove semen up her horses on weekends.
How
Yeah.
do you shove semen into a horse?
I
With
think
what? You
have
did
to
like an
use-
arm
You
movement.
have to use your fucking hand. I'm pretty sure you have to use some sort of thing, but then you have to stick your arm up there.
But where's the semen?
They've got something in their hand to do it with. Yeah. Yeah, I think it. I don't know. I've probably got that.
Oh
wrong.
gosh, my
Google that.
Google
No, we should not Google
search.
that.
Of course, I'm going to. As soon as this is done, I'm like, how much time we got? I am going to check that out. That is great. I did
Yeah.
not think that we would go there, but
Yeah,
we definitely ended
we've
up
gone
in
there. Yeah.
horse semen. So I'll just remember horse semen
I
and
love
Zoe.
it.
Zoe and horse
that's what I
semen.
would not spend my cash on.
Horse semen. No.
Oh my god, liquid gold.
Whoa! No, that's breast milk.
Yeah, it is breast milk.
Breast milk is definitely
Yeah.
liquid gold.
Yeah,
Okay, so on the flip side of that,
Mm-hmm.
if you had all the money in the world, yet again, what is something that you would do or buy?
You know, I think it's really interesting that the first thing that when I sort of think about when I think how much, you know, if I had unlimited amount of cash, and it comes back to like my my hobbies and kind of like my interests and my passions, and I would like to go back and restudy photography and be able to afford equipment and be able to travel the world and like, you know, sort of like find a career in that, have my own gallery, have my own shows, stuff like that. And it's such a shame that your passions are one of the first things to die when you feel like you're having to live frugally or you got no money. It's like I've got 10 cameras and they're all broken. You know, it's like or you find like these rolls of film that you shot like years ago, and you're like, I can't even afford to develop them because now I've got to pay for this and this and this. And so then you just let it die. You let these like rolls of film just expire in their own cameras. It's like, yeah, it's sad.
That breaks my heart.
Yeah. But you know what? I studied it and I loved it. I even loved it from school. And it was like one of those things where I was kind of like my teachers told me, you know, they sort of like persuaded me to find that as a direction because, you know, I had good work. But I just thought, I'm not talented. I just thought,
No,
this
you
is
are
just
very
luck.
artistic.
I was like, this is just weird that they thought that these were good enough to get me into uni, which they did. Weird to think that I could go on a scholarship to Berlin, which I
Which you
did.
did.
But then I came back and I was like, oh, maybe I'll move to London and find a job. But I had no confidence in my skills or like thought I was, you know, different enough because everyone here that's different or creative, you have to look the part. You know, it's like you have to sell yourself. It's like you're your own brand. But yeah, if I had unlimited money, then maybe I could sort of like build myself, build my portfolio, have my own like, yeah, sort of like space where I could show other artists as well, you know, give other people like a leg up in that world. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like if you don't have that initial sort of money to be able to build, you know, have that equipment or like, you know, rent that space or whatever else, it just won't happen. Or like travel the world, you know, for that reason. So it's just, yeah.
That's really sad. And you know, so many professions and so many industries have become an elitist sport. Because if you like, you know, because you couldn't live with your parents or they couldn't front your, you know, put the money up front for your gallery or your photography equipment and all this stuff, it's like you couldn't pursue it because it wasn't financially viable for you. It wasn't. Right?
And then you think, oh, what kind of job can I get then?
I'll just take what I can.
Yeah. Or like maybe I'll work in advertising and then I could do photography within that team or design or something. Never happened.
It never happens like that.
And so people always ask me like, oh, what's your job? And I'm like, well, you know, I went to art school and then I thought I'll move to London and maybe I'll find a job in media and then, you know, be able to do something creative within media. And then I just didn't really have the tenacity or like the confidence to be able to kind of like follow that up. Or every time I thought, oh, I could, something else came up and I just justified it or gave myself the excuse that it's not happening this time. And so like, yeah, 10 years later in the industry, I'm still freaking doing this role. Like, why am I still here?
Oh,
Yeah.
that breaks my soul a little bit because I know exactly what you mean. Like I did the same thing. I studied journalism. I wanted to be the next Louis Theroux, came to
Hmm.
London with these big dreams of being a documentarian. And actually I just, it's that thing. I did the same thing. I was like, oh, I'll just take a job in scheduling and it's okay because it's in TV and like I'll figure my
Mm,
way in front of the camera somehow, but it just never happened.
yeah.
And you just life happens and then you just kind of follow a
Life.
trajectory and then your confidence gets a bit shot and
Yeah.
then it gets shot because you've spent too much time in this like
Oh,
kind of crappy
100%.
role and then you're like, "Oh my
Yes.
gosh, maybe I'm actually not that good." Because
Yeah.
you see other people progressing regardless of whether they're better than you or not, but you see them progressing and then that really has an impact on you
Yeah. And
because
for the
for the
worse. It
worst.
doesn't set a fire in your freaking belly about it. It's not like, oh, wait, I can do that too. It's like oh, now it's just maybe
Oh.
retreat even further into this weird little corner.
And there are a small percentage of us, or maybe it's not small, but there are people who are able to use that to get better. But I
Hmm.
think for the majority of us, once you're kind of put back in your place, it's very hard to put a fire under your belly. And there's so many things as well. You're just grateful to have a paycheck, or sometimes you might have
Mm.
to restudy, but you can't afford to do that because you don't have the
Hmm.
time or you don't have the resources to reinvest in yourself or in your,
Exactly.
to fix your
I
cameras. Like how
know.
simple is that? In
Yeah.
theory, it sounds so simple, but cameras are so
So
expensive and they break so
expensive.
easily.
Yeah. And then you need all the software behind it too. If you're going to shoot digital, it's just like, well, then I need Photoshop. Oh, wait, then I need a new laptop. And then all these things. So,
So there's the drain, right? It's like, so
yeah.
no one, well, I'm sure it will still happen, but up until now, no one has really been able to see that potential within yourself,
Mm.
which you definitely have. You wouldn't get that scholarship to Berlin. You wouldn't have got into arts
I know.
university.
Yeah.
You have that potential, but because financially you were held back.
And do you know what I just spent all my money on? It was just like just at the pub. Let's be at the pub. And then it'd be like, and people would ask me, oh, what happened? You went to art school, you did photography. Whatever happened to that degree? And I'm like, oh, well, I came here and just started drinking. That's where my money went. And that's where every weekend I was too hungover to do anything creative or even think about it.
I know. You're not alone.
Yeah.
There's so many of us.
But then we justify it because it's like, oh, it's London. Oh, it's fun. Oh, I'm young. Just like, hanging out,
I know. Look,
blowing off some steam.
at the end of the day, we both met the people that we're with now in London and we had a great time doing it. And I do hope that we get to figure out those dreams along the way. And maybe
Hmm.
your dreams change. They
Oh,
do.
yeah, they
They
should
evolve. We both have
completely.
little, boys now. And but it's sad. And that's what I don't want for our kids, right? I want them
Mm,
to have the confidence in themselves and I want them to be able to finance their goals. It's not through mom and dad necessarily, or maybe we give them that leg up, but that's also a really tricky balance. It's like you want to financially support them,
mm-hmm,
but then also make sure that they know how to get themselves out of a sticky situation.
mm,
Because you can give someone all the money in the world, but if they don't know how to manage it, it
yeah,
doesn't matter.
yeah, exactly. Then it's just like, oh, it's just, what else can I spend my money on? What else
But
can I have? What big ticket item can I just like get for myself?
yeah, because it's like those, people who win the lottery or
Oh
Euro
yeah,
Millions,
they end
they
up in debt like a few years later.
more bankrupt than
Yeah.
they were before.
Yeah.
It's because no one was teaching them or guiding them
Mm.
to make the right decisions. But
And that would be me, which is
that
so
would be
grateful I'm
me.
not, if not won the lottery.
Yeah, because I would be more bored than. So it's actually a good thing.
Yeah, good thing,
The,
good
the
thing.
universe is
Yeah.
doing me a favor
Yeah.
by not giving me the winning lottery
Yeah.
numbers. That's what they're doing. Thank you, universe. Thank you.
Ah.
Thank you so much, Zoe. You're amazing in
Thank
every
you,
way.
Sage.
I love you.
You are. You're amazing.
Thanks, dude.
You're incredible. Yeah. Thank you for having me.